Is we're here. It's Sunday, and we're here, and we're ready to talk about the stuff.
And to give a spoiler away to early listeners, which is probably combo,
He is because he's the first one here.
we finally got the psychic booked.
Oh, very true.
Psychic is booked August 1st. Be here.
Is that 2 Sundays from now?
Or be not there, I guess, whatever.
Yeah, so not next week, but the week after, y'all.
Yes, she's coming on, and I can't wait for her to read me because
it's going to be interesting. I am kind of interested to see what she reads on, honestly, both of us.
I got a lot of good questions. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I got a lot. I don't want to give anything away. I don't want to start spoiling.
Do I know this person?
No, so I've actually never even met her in person. She is Mary's hairstylist.
Oh,
I think that's the right word. I hope that's not like saying less than what she is. Beautician, hairstylist.
Yeah, it's fine.
She does awesome work with Mary's hair.
This is true. If you guys have ever seen any like Mary's hair after she gets it done, it's fantastic.
I have no idea how she is as a psychic. I have a lot of interest in Teresa Caputo.
She is super interesting.
We've talked about that before, where I'm like as skeptic as they come when it comes to that shit, because I feel like it's a profitable way to convince people. Like,
no, 100%.
You're not saying things that have already happened for the most part of psychics, like tarot reading and all that bullshit, astrology, whatever. But when I started learning about Teresa Caputo and some of the science behind that, I'm like, it kind of seems like this lady is what she says she is, and nobody's really ever been able to debunk her. There's a lot of haters out there that claims that she's fake, but nobody's ever, in fact, ABC News, or I think it was ABC or NBC.
There was somebody that did like an investigation on it.
We've pulled this up before. And she ended up reading the cameraman.
Yeah.
The reporter was the one who was like going to get sat down to be read or connect with dead relatives or whatever. And then one of the cameramen actually one of his dead relatives ended up getting picked up by her. Mm-hmm. And he was like, there's no way she could have known that. Like, I'm a nobody. Like, you Google search my name and it comes up like with like accolades of production, that he's been a cameraman on. Like, he's not a celebrity. So anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I was always very skeptical of Teresa Caputo, but then when, the ex-wife would sit down and watch her all the time on TLC and stuff, and I was like, you got me thinking. So it's interesting. So that'll be a fun episode. 2 weeks. So not this coming Sunday, the 25th, but August 1st, so mark that in your calendars. Be sure to show up for that one. Alex and I might get exposed. We'll see what happens. We'll see what she says.
I don't know what she's gonna say.
I'm very intrigued. Let's start off with, I guess, some sports news ish. So as you guys may or may not know, the Euro Cup final was last week. Week before?
It was last Sunday.
So the Euro Cup final was last Sunday. England and Italy were the two teams going at it for the championship. Italy ended up winning. And after England's lost, there was a exorbitant amount of English fans that resorted to racist remarks on social media towards the black players on the England's football team / soccer team, if you guys want to look at it that way. And honestly, it's friggin' heinous and disgusting that they would resort to that type of behavior because you lost a championship soccer game. Like, I get it, you're a very passionate fan base. It was a big game, but it's not so important that you have to go onto social media and disparage people based off the color of their skin because you lost a friggin' a a game of like a soccer game. Like is like how how sad is your life that was like you losing that like ruined your day, and so you know you're gonna try and be hateful and ruin somebody else's day. Like what?
And not that I want to participate in the who's the least racist country Olympics, because I think that's futile and it should just be we all agree that racism is ugly and ignorant. But for anybody that says that America is the most racist country on the planet, I just want you to take a look at this example and see that if this was American soccer, as we should, we would be up in arms as a country saying, hey, we do not promote or condone this type of language towards African American players. Or if it was targeted towards Hispanic players, or name the demographic.
Yeah.
If this was the rhetoric towards especially our own fucking countries, like not to, again, I don't want to say racism is good, whether it's someone else's team or your team, whatever. Racism is always bad. Let's get that on the table. But that said, that's their fucking team. That's the same player that got you to that championship.
Yeah, got you. You cheered and yayed and everything for those same people that got you to the point where you're at now. And then as soon as they lose.
And now because one fucking player who happens to be black missed the PK, and he's a young player. I think the kid's like 18 years old or something like that. Like, yeah, Messi did that also when he was young. Ronaldo did that when he was young as well. Like, this is part of player development, and that kid got you there.
Yeah.
And now to be a racist piece of shit towards that kid or any of that nationality or that skin color on that team is bullshit. And so, again, if you want to say that the United States is the most racist country on the face of the planet, I would implore you to look at this example and say, we have done good things towards racial injustice in America, and we have room to work and we have room to go. We're not done, right? We need to keep working in the right direction. But at least this shit doesn't happen so blatantly from like a rabid base of fans.
And it honestly, it started even before the match was over. England has, you know, now a custom before every match. They take a knee to protest racism before every match, and there were audible boos in the crowd when that happened. So it started there, and then it just went from there with Marcus. The player in question is Marcus Rashford. He's actually extremely good. He's a very good soccer player.
Very talented.
And you know they just attacked him for, you know, he was, I think, pretty sure he was the one that missed the PK to keep it going.
Yes, he was.
And it's like, this kid is not even like he's not like super out there or anything. He did lead a campaign against hunger, which was aimed at the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who's a fucking moron. But that ended up feeding 4 million people. And you know, his part of his stuff that he does is, you know, he wants to end child hunger throughout the UK, and so, you know, he's just like, he seems like just an all around like upstanding guy.
By the way, he's 23, not 18.
Yeah, so he's
just
23.
To correct myself.
Yeah, it's just It's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's fucking dumb. He's a nice. I don't want to say young kid because he's only 4 years younger than me, so he's not that young. But
apparently, they arrested 4 people over racist abuse of England players: Rashford, Sancho, and Saka. They've been arrested over online racist abuse aimed at members of the England team.
Yeah. And this is unfortunate because Rashford made a statement that said, you know, he says, "I've grown into a sport where I expect to read things written about myself, whether it be the color of my skin, where I grew up, or most recently how I decide to spend my time off the pitch," talking about the soccer field. "I can take critique of my performance all day long. My penalty was not good enough. It should have gone in, but I will never apologize for who I am or where I came from." Another
thing about these England fans, because there was a guy on Barstool who was there. I can't remember his name. Anyway, they were interviewing him, and he was at Wembley, and he said it was just fucking mayhem. And this guy happens to be a black guy who's from England.
Yeah.
He talks like this, right, mate? Like, you understand? Yeah. And he was saying that the fucking amount of people that were just rushing the gates without tickets, like a large percentage of these fans got into Wembley without tickets because they just fucking rushed the gates and just
I heard about that,
made their way in. And they're saying those people account for a large number of like the boos and the racist related activity, like fucking shocker, right? Like you can't get a ticket, so instead of just going to the pub like a normal person and watching the game, you're like, mate, I gotta be there, mate.
I gotta be there, and I have to make sure that they know that I'm a racist fucking asshole.
Mate,
sucks.
I gotta be there and fight the other team, mate. Like, yeah, fuck off, dude. Fucking relax. Scum. Yeah. England has a lot of work to be done. I mean, they're still fucking in a caste system, which is ridiculous.
Essentially, yeah.
I know it's not a true caste system. Don't come for me, like, whatever. I know you could make the differences. Anyway.
But yeah, Poison, number one, thank you again for subscribing. And number two, yeah, you are right. Soccer fans are, I would argue, more crazy than football fans here, or what's another sport that's just super hyped up that everybody gives a shit about here? Mainly just football, honestly.
Well, there's a whole movie called The Green Street Hooligans.
Yeah,
that talks about the passion that some of those football
hockey to
original.
Yeah, hockey to a degree, I guess. Maybe not really here. Maybe in Canada, I don't know.
Yeah. Canada, they probably have a lot more passion towards hockey than.
But yeah, no, soccer fans around the world are, for the most part, they're crazy, and they will. I don't know what they're fucking hoser. Anyway, that's that. Basically, just poor and disgraceful fucking actions by English soccer fans, and it's so bad that people are calling for, and I'll have to double check, or at least calling for I want to say the fans to be banned from the World Cup, just based off of how poorly they acted before, during, and after the game.
They're fucking animals. They're crazy, dude.
Crazy.
It's coming home. It's coming home. No, dude, it's not coming home.
Yeah,
it was never coming home.
So.
Which I learned the origination behind that statement, if you didn't already know. Well, apparently soccer started in England. Yeah. And that's like a big debate among some soccer purists, I guess. And like for England fans, when the trophy's coming home, it's coming home to like the birthplace of
soccer.
Yeah. So there you go. Huh. Not that I really care about it, but that was another thing I learned upon listening to that guy talk about the shenanigans that took place at the old pitch in Wembley.
Yeah. Ban them all you want, there'll still be riots. Oh no, for sure. Like the fans will probably do some stupid shit like they did with this one and try and figure out how to get in there. It's gonna be fucking mayhem.
Yeah, you can try, but you'll never be able to stop England football fans.
No, fucking.
You're not gonna be able to.
Coming back across the pond into the United States, Trump has decided that it is the super great idea to sue Facebook, Twitter, and Google, because they banned him on all those platforms, and he's suing them on the grounds of censorship. So he's making 3 lawsuits, all with similar allegations. One obviously is against Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg. One's against Twitter and the CEO, Jack Dorsey. And then one's against Google, which through Google, he's basically trying to sue YouTube. And the CEO, Sundar Pichai. So he said, dude is quoted saying, "We will achieve a historic victory for American freedom and at the same time freedom of speech." And that was from a news conference at his golf course in Jersey. Yikes.
So, do you want to talk about how stupid this is, or because I have a lot to say about this? I'll let you get through.
I'll just give you the
But
rundown, and then I'll just give him the
yeah,
rundown, and we'll go from there. What's up, Jesus? So Trump lost his social media rights after the hi Bubba, you gonna go lay down over there? Good boy. After the stuff that happened on January 6th, the Capitol riot, Capitol whatever you want to call it, happened on January 6th, and then pretty much after that, all social media platforms said, "You're done." His lawsuits are asking a judge to invalidate Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, a law that's been called the backbone of the internet, because it provides websites with protections from liability over content posted by its users. Trump and others who have attacked Section 230 say it's given big internet companies too much legal protection, blah, blah, blah. Basically, they're saying it's like the legal loophole for big tech and big internet companies to get around a lot of stuff. What the hell? Oh, sorry.
okay.
So go ahead.
Let me stop you right there, because all of this is bullshit. Okay, so this is like when you have the latest bill that's being proposed by the Biden administration around, I can't even remember what it's. Climate change is the one that is trying to get passed right now. A heavy portion of the climate change bill revolves around immigration reform as well. So yeah, among other climate change issues, right? But this is what they fucking do in fucking DC when they're passing these bills, right? So Biden can say, "Hey, I tried to pass the climate change bill, but the Republicans shot it down." And the Republicans are going to say, "Well, yeah, we shot it down because it has all this other shit that's not addressing climate change. It's addressing migration or immigration control and reform, which, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with those specific bills, a bill regarding climate change should have nothing to do with immigration control."
Facts.
But so here it goes. So the Republicans are going to shoot it down, right? And Biden knows this is going to happen. So he's going to be able to say, "Well, I tried to pass this, and this was my promise during my campaign days, and whoops, it just didn't get passed," right? So it's the same story happening with Trump and this lawsuit, because he's filing the lawsuit in Florida. All right, he's filing a class action lawsuit in Florida.
Well, you want to tell him why he's doing it in Florida?
Yeah, so if you read Facebook's terms and conditions, when you accept to create a Facebook profile, in their terms and conditions, Trump's lawyers know this, it specifically states if you want to pursue class action legal action against our company, it must be filed in New York, right? So then you sit back and say, well, why would Trump get on a stage and tell people that he's filing this class action lawsuit that he knows is going to go nowhere because he's not even filing it in the right state? The guy must be a dumbass. No, he's spending a lot of money on this. He's not a dumbass. His lawyers are not a dumbass in this sense, in just legal terminology, right? They're very smart. They know how to read legal terminology.
Yeah.
But then along with this cry on stage to say we're filing this class action lawsuit, he goes on to say, and if you want to donate to this cause, donate towards like it's not the Freedom of Information Act. That's not right. That's actually an actual very important act. It's like freedomofexpression.org. I'm making that up. I can't remember the exact website, right? So if you go and donate to that website, all that money is going to get pooled up, and then the class action lawsuit is going to go nowhere. And where's it going to go? To the people who funded this website and backed him to begin with. So the money is not going to actually get spent towards the class action lawsuit. These people are going to donate, and it's never going to go anywhere. And they're going to say, oops, sorry, the fucking Dems never let us take this shit to court, blah, blah, blah. He'll find some stupid fucking excuse. And guess what? The goddamn rich get richer, and he's duped these fucking John and Marys in Wisconsin and Iowa and Nebraska. It was the same thing with Stop the Steal.
Yeah.
It was the same fucking thing with Stop the Steal. None of those civil lawsuits ever made it to actual court decision because they were bullshit to begin with. A lot of them got thrown out before they were ever filed. But there's money to be made in manipulating people to think that they're fighting for a good cause. By the way, i.e. blacklivesmatter.org, not the actual sentiment, the website. The same fucking shit happens on the right and on the left, and nobody can fucking take their stupidity out of it for a second and say, if I donate to this platform that I think is a good thing, is this actually going to make a change? No, I'm going to retweet. I'm going to go on fucking Twitter if I'm on the left, and I'm going to go on Facebook if I'm on the right. You know, like, again, stereotypes. I apologize. It happens on both sides. All I'm saying is you're fighting the same stupid fucking fight on both sides.
Yeah.
To accomplish nothing.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason that he tried to file it in Florida is because Florida's governor was trying to, actually had a bill in Florida signed that was meant to authorize the state to penalize social media companies when they ban political candidates. Excuse me. Let me go back. So I think if I'm reading this right, it says Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed this bill, and a federal judge then went and blocked a recently enacted state law that was meant to authorize the state to penalize social media companies when they ban political candidates. The federal judge, saying that the law likely violated some free speech rights. If the bill had passed, it would have made Florida the first state to regulate how social media companies moderated online speech. So I feel like that's part of the reason why that got filed in Florida too. Is they were trying to put those two things together and send it. And it's not going to work either way. But yeah, it's like you were saying. It's just going to be a giant fucking money grabbing thing, and people are gonna think that they did good, and then Trump's just gonna have a shitload of change in his pocket.
It's a cash cow. It's just a way to manipulate people into donating money. It's the same fucking preachers that you see at 5 o'clock in the morning on your local, channels, who are flying in private jets, across the nation, because they say, well, if I want to reach as many corners of the world, I need a private jet, and I need to do it, in luxury, asking people for their donations. It's not a new trick. It's just a different trick. It's the same
trick painted a different way, and people still fall for it.
It's a different song and dance. It's a different act with the same outcome.
Yeah.
It's not new, and I just don't understand how many people just fucking fall for it hook, line, and sinker, and nothing ever changes in their personal day-to-day life.
No, and here's another thing. Here's another thing that'll I guess prove to you guys or show you guys how much or how little a difference there is between both sides of the aisle is that when you finally go so far right or so far left, you end up circling back around. So Tucker Carlson was on, I believe it was Tucker Carlson, was on Fox obviously the other day talking about all of this COVID, the COVID stuff, and he was just basically being like, why can't all these big companies that made such profit during the pandemic pay for these bailouts that are supposed to be happening for all this other stuff? And it's just like, bro, you realize what you're talking about right now, and this is just super paraphrased. What he was talking about was the same thing that the left had been saying for the longest time to the beginning of it. Well, why don't we make these big companies do this? And then here goes Tucker Carlson on Fox, having gone so far around that he circled back, going, well, why don't we make these big companies do it? It's you don't even realize. They don't even realize it. It's just that, it's kind of another example that shows how not different we all are.
It's like a big pendulum, right?
It's just, yeah. I wouldn't even say a pendulum. It's not even a line. So you used to say the political spectrum is like a line. It's not. It's a fucking circle.
Circle, yeah.
Because you'll start in the middle, I guess, at the top, and you'll go and you'll go and you'll go and you go either way, and then eventually you come all the way back around and meet up at the bottom. So,
i.e., Spike Cohen going on syndicated Chicago radio and arguing with a Democrat and a Republican. And he's like, I think you're right about this. And we're like, okay, well, that's weird because I don't know how to respond to this because I'm not used to people agreeing with me.
Yeah, it throws them for a loop. It throws them.
Go back and watch our Spike Cohen interview if you want to about when he had just gotten done.
Yeah, he literally
with
just
a Democrat and a Republican on Chicago syndicated radio. And he talks about how they didn't know how to respond to him because he kept agreeing with them on certain things. And they're like, this is weird. I don't know how to combat someone who agrees with me. Anyway.
What difference in what, Jesus?
Great dead air time here.
I know. While we wait for Jesus to answer that question,
by the way, we're on Clubhouse.
Yeah, Alex and I are
Ben didn't know what Clubhouse is.
I had no idea what Clubhouse was. Clubhouse, like, Alex was like, sent me this link, and he was like, "Hey, here's my invite link to Clubhouse." And I was like, "What kind of spam bullshit is this?" I was like, "Who hacked Alex's phone?" So I checked it out, and I don't know. It's just like, it's a super, like, I guess somewhat exclusive, like, invite only, like, drop in, talk to, like, people all around the world about different topics or whatever room they have open. And I was like, what? And I was like, yeah. And Alex is like, yeah, dude, it's Clubhouse. And I was about to be like, bro, you can say Clubhouse all you want. I have no idea what you're talking about. I haven't heard of this thing. So, yeah.
I'll say more about that in a second. When you say there's a difference between Republicans and Democrats, Jesus, I need some more context. If not, we can agree that, like, yeah, there are fundamental there's
on
like policy and stuff. But
eventually they all just end up, like, circling back. And I guess Republicans and Democrats isn't the right word. There's a difference between those. Like, I guess liberals, like, and conservatives, they have gone so far past the points on either side that they are slowly getting around to, like, looping back to each other.
And if you want to look at, like, Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi, they are a Democrat and a Republican, and on the surface they disagree about policy, but they're both the slimy, scuzzy individuals that happens when people are career politicians. So, like, yeah, you could argue that they have differences. They do, but at the end of the day, they're both fucking scuzzy politicians. Yeah. That's the truth of the matter. So they're different but the same.
Yeah, they'll do whatever it takes to stay in office and stay... yeah.
And then you can look at people like Dan Crenshaw and Tulsi Gabbard. You mind reading at this point in time? We're almost at episode 50 also.
I know, it's crazy.
By the way, we've been doing this for over a year. And they're very similar in the sense that they disagree on policy, but they truly want what's best for their country, unless they're just completely pulling the wool over my eyes.
Yeah.
I really have a lot of respect for both of those individuals. And I think Tulsi's not even in politics, I don't think, anymore, because she kind of got ousted by the Democrats. But at one point in time, they had a true American drive towards their policy making, like trying to make this place as best for everybody as possible. So there you go.
Yeah. He just says he's saying that he doesn't see Democrats comparing COVID restrictions to the Holocaust, or saying vaccines will magnetize you, or that being near vaccinated people will cause you to become infertile, or trying to sell a phone that is separate from everything else because of censorship, or saying that Americans don't need CRT because America wasn't founded on racism. What the hell is CRT? I might live under a rock. I don't know what that is.
No, but you do see Democrats and...
It's not. We're not saying that they're the same, like, in their policy stuff or their critical race theory. Thank you, Jesus. Or like that kind of stuff. Obviously, the people on, Democrats and Republicans have their differences on that stuff. But we're saying it's underneath all of that stuff. They're like the same scummy, scuzzy individual, basically. Like, they both operate in such a way that benefits them more than it benefits the country, and then they'll veil it under the guise of like, oh, it's this for the party or whatever. What I was getting at with Tucker Carlson is that normally Tucker Carlson would never in his life on Fox News say that big corporations should pay for the bailouts, because that's not how like Fox News operates on things.
And I think what Jesus is trying to say, not to speak for Jesus, but I think that the crux of it is that you see Republicans saying wild shit, right? And they do. I'm not sticking up for the wild shit that some Republicans say, but Democrats say just as wild shit as far as talking about, God, I don't even, like, if you get into some of the shit that like AOC has said about being pro-life or pro-choice, like just shit that's not factual when it comes down to the science of it. And even about, transgender individuals being able to compete in sports, like both sides, again, not one is pure from the other, talk out of their ass when they're just trying to pander to the individuals that they're trying to get votes from. And that happens on both sides. They both say wild shit. Republicans are not any better than Democrats. And I'm talking largely here, the ones who are like career politicians. I'm not talking about your outsiders, again, like Tulsi Gabbard or Dan Crenshaw, in my eyes, or even some of the stuff that Bernie Sanders says. I don't agree with the policy, but I think that his sentiment is accurate and that he wants the world to be a better place.
Yeah.
And Bernie Sanders is one of those career politicians that I think still has some good in him, and he hasn't been completely tarnished by lobbyists and backdoor donations. But I don't think it's fair to say, and sorry, I'm not reading the comments. Good. I'm just finishing up this little tangent. I don't think it's fair to say that one is any better or any more pure than the other. I think they both have their sins, their flaws, and their shining points of people who really do have pure incentives.
Yeah. Jesus, I don't agree with that statement, because I don't feel like that's entirely true. I feel like both sides spread disinformation. Democrats may sound radical, but Republicans tend to be focused on specifically spreading disinformation. I don't think that's true. I think the Democrats do a fair job of spreading disinformation themselves as well, like both sides.
And so let me, a thought I have on that is, maybe in most recent years we can recall a Trump era, presidential era, I guess is a better way to say it, where it was funny because he was the one who tagged the phrase fake news, right? But he was just as quick to be in front of a group of reporters in the middle of a pandemic and say, I don't know, maybe we'll inject, chlorine or, whatever the fuck he said. Hydroxychloroquine got a horrible rap just because Trump said that word. Like, again, whether it was true or not, people just took it as disinformation. Mm-hmm. The same guy who coined the term fake news. So maybe if you're looking at the most recent 4 years, where a lot of Republicans, not a lot, a few Republicans stood up when he would say stupid shit like that and be like, I just wish he would stop talking. Like, I just wish, because that's not true. And then you have the blue bloods who don't want to get on the quote unquote party's bad side, who are like, Trump said it must be true. Yeah. Like, so you are coming out of a 4 years where maybe more of the rhetoric of what Trump said that was misinformation was backed by the Republican Party because they were just being shitty politicians, and trying to represent the party. But if you come out of like the 4 years of Biden, again, he's going to say some shit that's not true. He's going to say some shit that people want to hear. And Republicans are going to, or Democrats, excuse me, are going to back him and say, no, you know, Biden said it. So, you know, he really fought for the American people. Like it's the same on both sides. They're both playing the same shitty game, whether you want to realize it or not. And again, maybe it's up for debate. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But it seems like they're both just as scuzzy on either side. And again, one is not more pure or just than the other.
Yeah. Yeah, and like so I don't have so for me specifically, I don't have anything, I guess, specifics that come off as like what like disinformation the Democrats have spread, like per se, like specific
What about
examples, but like go ahead.
Here's one that comes to mind. Maxine Waters saying if Derek Chauvin isn't found guilty on all 3 counts, that there should be riots in the streets. Like, no, you can't say that. You're a fucking politician. By the way, you just gifted Derek Chauvin's defense attorneys a goddamn fastball down the middle if they even want a shot at appeal.
Yeah. Like,
that is so blatantly targeting the people that you're trying to get votes from. That's not a fucking democratic, or not even a democrat. That's not a way a politician should conduct themselves before the fucking verdict is ever read. Yeah. You don't know what's going to happen. And that, again, that's just one little example. And I could get online and find others and you can find them from the Republican side. Again, both are shitty. Both say stupid shit to target their audiences. It's narratives. It's the focus. It's how they try to win votes.
Yeah. Yes, it's irresponsible as well, Jesus. But like, so both sides, I think what I'm thinking of when I think of disinformation is it's just that it's like both sides put out things that'll get their supporters riled up. While they may have some basis in a little bit of truth, for the most part they both sides twist it to fit the narrative that they want, which I would then consider disinformation and misleading. So like neither side is absolved of any wrongdoing in that. So for me, disinformation is the willful and knowledgeable twisting of certain things that are fact to fitting the narrative, rather than just reporting on the things that and looking at those things as black and white fact. Both sides are guilty of that, and that's what I would say.
Really trying to think of a specific example, because I know I'm going to get done with this podcast and I'm going to be like, there's 100 things that I think of right away.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Shit, I just lost my train of thought. Hold on. Well, shit, let's just, while I'm, see, Jesus, and I'm going to disagree with you again on that, because CNN is widely known as the Democrats' like basically news network, and they peddle shit the exact same way Fox peddles shit.
Andrew Cuomo won a goddamn Emmy or something for the way that he handled the pandemic in New York, and everyone cheered for him. And then on the back end of it, right before people came out and said that he was sexually assaulting women behind closed doors, which odd, we haven't heard a lot about that. Mm-hmm. They said that he made mistakes by forcing homeless people back into their homes. And it resulted, like, the numbers are there, and a lot of, or not homeless, excuse me, elderly homes. Like, a lot of elderly people in New York died because he forced them to go back into their elderly homes. Like, we praised this guy. We gave him a fucking Emmy and let him write a book. And nobody said shit because they didn't want to rock the boat. They didn't want to go against a member of their own tribe. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not just trying to attack the left here, because I can sit and attack the right also all day. but I'm sorry. I will refuse at this point to say that the right is better than the left or the left is better than the right.
Yeah, I'm not saying either one's like better
No,
than
neither
the
of
other.
us are.
I don't know. Like, what do you mean, such as Jesus? I mean, if you watch CNN at all, or or Fox at all, both of them peddle shit the same way.
They peddle fear.
They both fearmonger things. Fox will peddle it as, we'll take masks for example. Whatever. Fox for the most part is like, no, you don't need to wear a mask. Blah blah blah. All this stuff. It's just like the government's trying to control you. Yada yada yada. Meanwhile, CNN will turn around and say, if you don't wear a mask, you're going to die. Essentially, like they're both peddling fear in different ways to keep their supporters or whatever, their viewers, on their side. Yeah, and combo, I'll give you that. Like, Fox and CNN both push shit for their party and say extremely dumb shit. For the most part, a lot of the meme and anything else is like Fox just is more, I guess, blatant about the dumb shit they push. Like when y'all were in chat talking earlier about that crazy lady who thinks breathing the air from or around people that are vaccinated made her infertile. Like, obviously that person's stupid and has done zero scientific research into any of that and was just like, well, this is obviously like what's happened. So,
or Ocasio-Cortez saying that ICE is sexually assaulting women when there's no evidence of that whatsoever. I mean, maybe except in like one-off situations. I'm Google searching this stuff now. Or saying Americans are dying from global warming. Like, you can look. We could sit here and search again, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, because then I feel like I'm starting to dig too deep here, and we're not really getting anywhere with.
Yeah, we're just spinning wheels
with the conversation. Yeah, you can sit here and search stupid shit and misinformation that's been spread from the left and from the right. They're both equally as guilty. They both have agendas and personal gain to be found in telling people what they want to hear versus what's actually going on. And like Forrest Gump, that's all I got to say about that.
Okay, so Jesus said, okay, I don't love CNN, but what have they put on the network that has been genuinely detrimental to the country? What was that one shit that they just got exposed for? Because they had that undercover person like interviewing the people.
Yes.
Where the dudes openly admitted that, yes, we're pushing this because we don't give a fuck. We're just here for views. God damn it. Of course.
I got it.
Yeah, that they were trying to get like Trump out, which, being from that side, I could see
the network hyped COVID-19 data to hurt Trump. So during COVID-19, leading up to the election, this CNN employee admitted on what he thought was a Tinder date. And it was really somebody from like the Daily Wire, I think.
It was, yeah, I'd have to look at it. It was a whole project.
Let me send this to you real quick, Ben, and then I promise we can move on. But I feel like this is a good topic. And just, again, Jesus, you know this. We appreciate the open discussion, and no one's trying to be right or wrong. This is the whole purpose of this podcast, is to have open, honest, not being shitty towards each other discussion.
Yeah.
So it's a good space for conversation. Jesus, you don't have to be heated, brother. It's okay. Here, play this video, and then we can move on.
I think I already played it. I remember right. I think I already played this video at one point.
Well, we can play it one more time. And again, CNN sucks just as fucking much as Fox News does, and Republicans suck just as fucking much as Republicans do.
Yeah, and Yeah. Is this it? No, that's just a fucking picture. Oh god, wrong button. There's not even a fucking video on this.
Yeah, there is.
No, there's not.
It's the first. I'm literally looking at it right here.
I clicked on the picture. It's just a picture. It's not a video. The link you sent me?
Shit, it is just a picture.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically, look, just so you guys know, I'm not fucking bullshitting you. Oops, that's a little bit much. Staff at CNN has revealed how the network peddled propaganda, including hyping COVID-19 data that helped out Trump. You know, this dude, the technical director at CNN, revealed that during a series of Tinder dates with an undercover journalist, Project Veritas, that was the thing I was fucking getting at. Dude said, look, we got Trump out, 100% going to say it, and I 100% believe that if it wasn't for CNN, I don't know, Trump would have got voted out, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so... I'm not using this to, like, say I'm for Trump and that them getting Trump out wasn't, you know, or was detrimental to the country or anything like that. But the detrimental part of it is that they willingly and knowingly falsified data and hyped shit up more than what it was. A, because ratings were good, and B, because they had an agenda to push. But and Fox does the same shit. Okay.
I have the video pulled up. I just sent it to you.
Yeah, I got it.
I think we got him through this term. We would always show shots of him jogging, him in aviator shades, and like you paint him as a young geriatric.
We were creating story there. We
Paint him as
didn't
a
know
young
anything
geriatric.
So that's I think that's propaganda.
Look what we did. We got Trump out. I am 100% going to say it. And I 100% believe it, that if it wasn't for CNN, I don't know that Trump would have got voted out.
I'm going to say it. And I have no problem saying it. I'm 100% certain. If it wasn't for CNN, I don't know that Trump would have gotten voted out.
So, yeah, it's the same. Yeah. It's both parties do the same shit. It's shitty on both sides. Anyways, let's move on. Okay, so we're gonna move down to I don't see, that's not that okay. So yes, that's his personal opinion. Oh my god, we're stuck on this still. Yes, that's his personal opinion as well, Jesus, but I would say that it is also the opinion of move on. All right. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm done.
Next topic. We can sit and talk about that for the next 5 hours, probably.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Next thing, Texas is again on the front page. This time it's for their Senate Bill 7, which is going to create new, what this article is saying, it's going to create new restrictions on early voting, how voters can receive applications to vote by mail, and the distribution of polling places in diverse urban counties. And then here's the breakdown. So, let me see if I can find an actual breakdown of what's going on. Okay, so the first point in this is it's going to limit how local officials can expand voting options. Okay, so it's going to regulate voting hours. Currently, counties with a population of 100,000 or more must provide at least 12 hours of early voting each weekday of the last week of early voting. So in Texas, the early voting period usually runs for 2 weeks ahead of Election Day, and hours have been set from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So the bill, that's current. That's what's currently in Texas right now. This bill would lower that population threshold to 30,000. So more counties would be required to offer more early voting hours between this newly established window of 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. The legislation also sets a 12-hour cap on how long early voting can run during the week. So polling places that stay open until 9 p.m. would have to open up later in the morning. So that would directly preempt and expand early voting hours, often in large, diverse counties. Last year, Harris County, I don't care about that. All right, next point is they're going to ban drive-through voting. So the bill also is attempting to outlaw the sort of drive-through voting offered by Harris County last year by requiring early voting to occur inside a building as opposed to a stationary structure or tent or anything like that. I don't know why they would do that. I'm trying to read through this real fast.
So we get to the point where they're all going to hop the plane, right?
Yeah, we are eventually. I just want to get through. I just want to look at the kind of the big hitters in this bill as to why they're leaving. These drive-through polling places were set up in large tents. Voters remained in the cars. They had to show a photo ID and verify their registration before they cast their ballots on a portable voting machine. So basically, they did drive-through voting because of COVID. Is what I'm getting out of that. So they didn't have to get out and everybody could just stay in their car and do it, and it was a lot safer for everybody. Cool. If they want to get rid of that, I guess this year because the pandemic is not that big of a deal and people are getting vaccinated, then I personally don't see a problem with them getting rid of the drive-through voting. If they keep it, they keep it. If they don't keep it, they don't keep it. That's just me. So this one's probably going to be a little iffy for people. This one says it's regulating the distribution of polling places in urban areas. So this bill, Senate Bill 7, would target the distribution of polling places in the state's biggest counties, most of which are under Democratic control and home to a large share of voters of color. I'm going to read a decent amount of this. So, in recent years, county election officials have worked to ditch precinct-based voting on Election Day and instead open up every polling place to all voters, regardless of where they live in a county. That model, known as countywide voting, has existed in Texas for many years, but has been taken up most recently by both blue urban metros and Republican-leaning suburbs. The 2020 election marked the first major election during which the state's 5 largest counties, Harris, Dallas, Tarrant, Bexar, and Travis, all operated under that countywide model.
So basically drive-through voting models, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of having a typical polling place, they have more drive-through models, correct?
Not. So that was the drive-through stuff, if I'm reading this right, that was mainly just in Harris County. So this one, by regulating the distribution of polling places, they're not talking about drive-through. They're talking about actual polling spots.
Okay.
So it goes on to say that the bill is going to say counties with a population of 1 million or more that use the countywide voting would be subject to a specific formula for distributing polling places based on the number of voters.
Okay.
So as it stands now, it doesn't matter what the population of your county is. If they're going to do countywide voting, then all the polling places are going to be open up. Wherever you can go vote, they're all going to be open.
Okay.
What they're trying to change is if you have a population of 1 million or more in the county, that there's going to be a formula for how the polling places are distributed.
Okay.
So they're not just going to have all of them open. They're going to have specific spots based on the population for everybody to go vote.
Okay. So this is a simple argument of logistics.
Kinda. So they're saying it's bullshit, I guess, basically because that change is going to target directly the 5 largest counties, which are majority under Democratic control.
Correct.
While all the other counties in Texas that are going to use countywide voting, nothing's going to change because their population is underneath 1 million.
Okay.
So it's basically what they're saying is the formula is based on voter registration, and it would likely reduce the number of polling places in House districts represented by Democrats, the vast majority of them people of color serving districts that typically have a larger share of voters of color compared to Republican-held districts.
Correct. I'm sure that's accurate.
Yeah. In selecting their polling places, counties generally consider a variety of factors beyond voter registration, including proximity to public transportation, accessibility for voters with disabilities, past voter turnout, and sufficient space to set up voting machines. In urban areas, election officials also look to sites along thoroughfares that see high traffic to make polling places more convenient. The formula would also apply to the distribution of voting equipment and poll workers, which local officials and advocates have said likely takes away the ability to set up extra large polling places in stadiums and arenas like they used in November. The more standard formula would also complicate individual setups that typically use polling places, including popular polling places located at large venues.
So, as Sue says, they're wanting to close centers in order to make people drive out to centers instead of having more convenient
locations. Yeah, which is that's pretty much what I was getting out of that. They're using population logistics and voter registration to set up specific polling sites rather than just have a shitload of them in convenient places.
Which you want to talk about some shady shit that one side has probably done more than another. One topic of conversation would be polling center and voter registration suppression. Republicans are kind of guilty of some voter registration suppression.
Yeah, I'll say that in more recent years, before that, back during the time of like Jim Crow and that kind of stuff, that was actually the Democrats that did a lot of that.
Yeah, no,
so it's kind of as the years have gone on, it's shifted a little, like more often than not. But I'm not going to sit here and say that that's a like good idea and that that's blatantly trying to take votes away from the Democratic side, because it kind of seems that it's making it a lot harder for people that live in those areas that would typically vote Democratic to get to a polling place to vote for how they want to vote.
And I don't know shit about it. I haven't read into it, quite honestly. I know that like in Atlanta, one of the reasons why we just watched the All-Star game happen in Denver and not Atlanta, Georgia, was like as simple as requiring people to show ID when they showed up to vote. And you can get a free ID through the state of Georgia. So this has been used on the left to like feud a war that really should have never happened and resulted in Atlanta, Georgia losing a lot of money. I don't know shit about this, but on the surface, it sounds like a typical Republican move to try to split up higher populated areas, which typically are blue areas because you have more low income individuals.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I don't know, to be quite honest.
I'll say this about it, though. It's different than what Georgia did.
Yeah. It sounds like that much, at least on the face.
Because we went through the Georgia bill a little bit, and going through this one right now, it's different. And what Georgia was doing, I feel like was not... They weren't wrong, and they weren't trying... The state wasn't, or the Democrat or the Republicans, whoever, wasn't trying to limit voters or, you know, voters of color or, you know, people in democratically controlled areas. They were just trying to make sure that everybody who voted was who they said they were.
Exactly.
Essentially. And everybody got all up in arms about it. But it's like, bro, you need an ID to do literally anything else in this country.
Yeah.
Why should you not have an ID to go vote? Like, what's different about that? That's basically what Georgia was doing. Texas, on the other hand, right now is kind of from just running through this right now. It's kind of shady, honestly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I see your comment, Jesus. Yeah, they're very guilty. Remember, here in Texas, Abbott wanted to remove ballot boxes, claiming they were being manipulated and weren't safe, which is not true. Partisan poll watcher protections are fucked up. That's part of the bill. Okay, I'm sure I'll get to that here in just a second. So when I get there, don't let me forget about it. So now they're also going to require paper trails for voting. The bill would move all Texas counties toward voting machines that offer a paper trail by producing an auditable paper record of ballots cast. That sort of equipment is already in use in many counties, including some of the state's biggest, and have modernized outdated paperless voting machines in recent years. That bill sets a deadline of 2026 for all their counties to make the switch. The move to require machines with a paper trail has found rare bipartisan support at the legislature though lawmakers have previously not agreed on how to pay for it. It sets up a formula for some counties to be reimbursed if they must retrofit that shit. So that's fine.
Here's what I don't understand. How can we have a system like Apple Pay that literally saves your credit card information in your phone? And I'm sure that information gets compromised from time to time.
All the time. But yeah.
But Apple has pretty sound security
That
measures.
usually doesn't get compromised on Apple's end. It usually gets compromised on the retailer's end.
Yeah, on the retailer's end or the bank's end, whatever. So, but how do we have these systems in place and we can't fucking figure out a system that works, that we don't have to sit and argue about paper ballots, paper trail of paper ballots that are auditable, whatever. How can each state not bring in like Elon fucking Musk or like the 10 brightest IT individuals in their state, or bring the 100 of the brightest individuals in the country together and say, hey, create us a system where I can go online and vote. And I am who I say I am. We have fucking Face ID on our phone. Like, we can't create a system where we can go online and vote on some sort of encrypted channel, but we have two-party systems fighting over where people should be able to show up to vote. Like,
yeah,
the system has to be able to get better. It seems very archaic.
No, for sure.
I don't understand how we can't do this better.
Yeah. Oh my god, there's a lot in this. Holy shit. Okay. I'm gonna skip over some stuff, or at least read the big headlines. So Jesus said that the partisan poll watchers, so it means people who are poll watchers are allowed to be close enough to watch you vote. It's a form of voter intimidation because Proud Boy could easily watch you vote Democratic, and who knows what will happen then. Yikes. I do not like that.
Well, people should not.
They shouldn't be close enough to watch you vote anyway.
Like, again, yeah, that part is completely.
That's fucked.
That's so archaic. Just figure out a better system and implement it and do it quick so we don't have to worry about fucking Russia hacking our shit or whatever. Yeah. Or right now, all they do is just stir up shit on Facebook and try to get you to lean one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Get a better system.
Yeah. So, yeah, this one part of it here is it says enhancing poll watcher freedom. It would widely broaden access for partisan poll watchers inside polling places. On the biggest expansions of the bill would give them power to video record voters receiving assistance and filling out their ballots if the poll watcher reasonably believes that help was unlawful. Okay, there's
stupid.
A lot of gray area in that, and what's going to happen is people are just going to be recorded, and then it's going to get that's bad. So what needs to happen here is we just take that out, scrub that away, and say no one's allowed to fucking watch you vote, because that's your own personal opinion and personal like shit in your vote. Like, you should not sit there and have to worry about what Joe Smo is doing back here while he's fucking staring at you voting, and if he sees you vote one way or the other, maybe you get caught in the parking lot outside and get the shit beat out of you because you did that. Like, that's some old school like fucking mob shit. All right, and that's basically that. I don't like that part of it because that has too much in my brain. The first thing I think of, that has too much correlation to like the voter intimidation that goes on in third world countries right when they get democratic elections.
Yeah,
and the military is there like, if you don't fucking vote for who we tell you to vote for, you're going to it's going to be a bad day. So, yeah, I don't like that. The next one of these next parts is requiring the recording of vote counting. So, video surveillance of votes being counted is one of the last parts, which I don't know. I don't think that's a terrible idea. Anyway, so based on some of these things that we've gone over in this, some of them are seem fine. Some of them definitely are not fine. 8, I think it was like 8 or 9 Democrats just said, "Nah, fuck this," and left. They left the state of Texas and went to DC. Just so they could like leave. They were hoping that basically their exodus would break what's called the quorum, the minimum number of lawmakers needed to conduct business, so that this bill couldn't get passed. Obviously, the Republicans, condemned their actions.
Well, that is bullshit. Like, no matter what side it is, like, you don't agree with something, whether it's right or wrong or indifferent, so you're just going to leave so you don't have to vote, and then the minimum number of votes can't be achieved.
Yeah.
Like, what the fucking taxpayers pay you to do is to sit in that room and fight for what you think is right. Like, you should not hop a plane and just fucking skip town so you're not around to vote. Like, that's what your fucking salary is there for. You're supposed to. Again, I would say this if the Republicans fucking hop the plane. Like, that's bullshit. That's what you're paid to do. And then they just hop a plane and skip town so they don't have to be there to vote.
Yeah, that is childish and dumb. Like, you just... That'd be like... Well, fuck, not even me, because I can't do this because I get in a lot of trouble. But that'd be like you at your job or whatever... You're like there to there to work and you're being paid to work or whatever, but like something's going on that you don't agree with, but you have the option to make your voice heard that you don't agree with it, and you just fucking up and leave.
I'll give you a really good example. Since I've started this new job, there's been systems that we've had to put in place to hold sales reps accountable to make sure that they're doing what's best for the company. And some of those decisions haven't been very easy for me to pass along to these sales reps, right? Like, understandably so. You can understand both sides. But that'd be like me saying, hey, this coming Thursday morning when we have a sales meeting, I'm just going to leave. And then you can just deliver the news to the sales reps yourself. Like, that's what you pay me to do, is to represent what's best for the company and therefore the sales reps, because if the company's not making any money, we can't pay any sales reps. So like, there has to be a give and take. Like, someone has to represent what you think what's best for the company. And that's the whole point of the two-party system, is for one side to have a set of particular ideas and then the other side to not necessarily agree with that, and then they come together in the middle. Not what happens hardly fucking ever, but that's the way the system is designed to be set up. And to just skip town and not represent your side and just say, well, I'm not going to vote because I don't agree with this, I'm just going to leave. So there, you can just sit in a room by yourself and vote by yourself and it's not going to matter. Like, that's not, you're going to have to come back and vote on it again. Like, eventually this conversation is going to have to be had. So
yeah,
why don't you just be adults and sit in the same room and figure it out? Because that's what the taxpayers pay you to do.
Yeah. I don't know. So basically, this, like, for the most part, in like going through what that bill did, there's quite a few things on there that are very sus and are geared towards making it more difficult for Democratic voters to get out and vote. Republicans in Texas are very upset that Republicans didn't, win and that Trump lost, essentially.
Well, and just one note on just educating Poison and maybe Jesus also about how things are done in Nebraska when it comes to voting. You don't have to show your ID at all right now. You show up and you say, this is my name, this is my address, and they say, okay, does all this look right? And you say, yep. Like, last time I went to vote, I had my ID ready just because I didn't remember how the whole situation worked. And they're like, no, we don't need that. And they just crossed me off. So good, bad, and different. That's how it works in Nebraska, just so you guys know.
I think part of it is because when you go to get a driver's license, you register to vote at the DMV when you get it, so they like I guess some point or other compile a list of people based around that.
Yeah,
And they
I don't
can
know how it
check it
works.
that way. I would say that it should honestly be like if you're going to vote, you should produce an ID.
To answer Poison's question, so you could be saying your name and address is that of a 90-year-old grandmother, and they would believe you. Yes,
Yes,
that you absolutely could.
which is sometimes how when voting happens, like somebody will go vote as themselves or whatever, and then they'll go to maybe a different polling place in the county and vote as some dead dude.
In fact, I had a buddy text me and was like, "Hey, just go back through the line and vote for Gary Johnson for me." And I was like, "Dude, I'm not committing voter fraud." He's like, "Come on, like you know how easy it is." I'm like, "They just saw me. They can probably piece two and two together." But I guarantee you, if he was registered in a different location and I just showed up and said, "I'm so and so and I live at so and so address," they would just let me through to vote. And I don't know, Jesus, if I don't think Nebraska has a lot of voter fraud issues, but part of that could be that it's very untrackable. Again, anybody can really show up anywhere and say that they're anyone as long as they have the right information at their fingertips. I could have said I was my dad, and I could have shown up and voted for him, and they have had situations where people, like, not a whole lot, but there has been situations of like a percentage of dead people like voting, not enough to really matter, I don't think. But there again, also a lot of times it's Republicans that win in our state. So, and our state has been Republican controlled for a long time. So they're really not going to start cracking open the books right now to try to reform, because that would go against them. Yeah. And it'd be the same if it was a Democratic state. I mean, don't fix it if it's not broken and it's working for your party, right?
Yeah, essentially, like, yeah. Basically, the be all and end all of this is like, yes, right now Texas is on the front page for doing this, and Georgia was on the front page for what they did, but it's because it looks as though Republicans are trying to limit the Democratic vote, which, as far as Texas is concerned, there's multiple aspects in this that look to back up that fact. Now, if it were to flip the other way, and I'm not going to I wouldn't put it past the Democrats to do the same thing in another state if that state was largely Democratic for a long time, and then all of a sudden flipped Republican. I would say that it would probably happen. They'd probably do something. But yeah. Jesus, it doesn't matter if they've ever done it. It's I'm not like it could happen. They do lose a lot, but given the fact that I'm not looking at the past, which I know you can look at someone's past actions as a good indicator of future actions, but I feel like the way that these voter things are getting trying to get passed in other states could set a precedent for both sides to continue to act in such ways as to like try and flip the books to keep control of certain areas.
And Democrats have done the same shit, because when there was the Democratic runoff in Georgia, you had all these people claiming citizenship in Georgia, like flying in and purchasing Airbnbs and residences in Georgia so they could get registered to vote as a Georgia resident. Now, Georgia did what they could, and in the runoffs only allowed, or tried to only allow, people that had voted in the initial election to vote in the runoffs. But again, when you're trying to keep tabs on that many residences, like, who's to say? Again, people do what they can to get their side. It's a game, right? Like, it's a baseball game, a football game, a basketball game. I want my team to win, and if I'm filling out Uncle Lou's voter registration card, who's been deceased for the last couple of years, because I think Trump is the bane of American existence and is all that is evil in this world, which some people had that view. Not saying they're wrong or right or whatever. That's just a lot of people fucking hated Trump. They thought everything that he stood for was evil. So guess what? They're going to do what it takes to try to get him out of office. And I guarantee you, someone in Georgia represented a dead relative or a relative that couldn't speak or, was elderly or whatever, got their voter registration card, filled it out, regardless of that's who the card actually represented or not. This isn't a one side or another type of argument. It's just not. Georgia's a perfect example in the runoffs. It was documented that people were trying to move there to register to vote so they could vote Democrat.
Yeah. No, you're right. The thing is, one side does wrong things doesn't mean the other side will too, right? For the most part, yes. But I guess I'm playing more hypotheticals. But I feel like if more and more of these states do things, like the Republicans are seeming to do in Texas. I'm not going to say whether or not they actually are, but it kind of does point to them doing it. To switch shit up so that it benefits their side more. I don't think one side is above doing the same thing to keep. It's I don't think the Democrats are above doing the same thing in another state if they have worries that their state might flip, or if their state does flip, then the next time an election comes around, they do stuff to make sure that it flips back or stays Democratic.
Again, it's a game. What can I do to play the game to win the game, which results in my team winning? And both sides do it. Both sides are going to continue to do it until someone steps up in the form of a third party or a riser from either the right or the left. I don't give a fuck who it is right now at this point in time, whether they have R or D or L or G, Libertarian, Green Party, Republican, Democrat, whatever. I don't care who it is at this point in time. Someone has to step up and actually lead the country with the desire of putting the country's best interest first and not that party or person's best interest first. And we haven't seen that in a long, long, long time. And it's more imperative than ever that it happens now.
Yeah.
Because we're quickly hurling towards this cliff that's going to result in either fucking civil unrest or civil war or policy war, not just war on the Senate stage or behind closed door on passing of bills, but legitimate, I fight you because you disagree with what I say. And that that's not a way for a civilized country to operate.
Yeah. I don't want to say that I wouldn't say that we're knocking the Democrats. I don't know. It's the thing. I think we're just exploring the hypothetical possibilities, I guess. Yes, we have clear. I don't know. Would you say clear proof of corruption with what the Republicans are trying to do in Texas?
I don't want to speak on that, but we could go back and say proof of corruption throughout the Republican Party through weapons of mass destruction is one that rings a bell. Let's create a war in Iraq and claim that there's weapons of mass destruction and start a war. And then, oops, we get over there and there's no weapons of mass destruction. But we also have an interest here because there's some oil here, and that can make a lot of Republicans in Central Texas a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
You could say that there's probably some incentives there that don't necessarily stem from the best interest of the country. Again, my goal, we've been talking, especially this podcast, a lot about Democratic policy. And I don't want to, again, say that this conversation is unwelcome, because from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate this type of dialogue, but a lot of it has been more pointed towards the fact that Democrats are maybe a little bit more absolved from guilt than the Republican side is. And I'm not saying one is better or worse than another. Let me just say that again. I'll say it 100 more times by the time we get done doing this podcast. I despise one side just as much as I despise the other. But if you want examples on one side or another, I think I can sit here, both of us can come up here and come up with ideas and examples as to why one side is bad or the other side is bad, or vice versa.
Go back and forth on both sides and find stuff that they've both done that have been terrible and wrong. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's like a thing that we kind of tend to do on this is explore hypotheticals just because I don't know. We both kind of I don't know. I don't want to speak for Alex, but I think it's kind of fun and interesting to explore hypotheticals. And yes, this hypothetical kind of went on a tangent, I guess, of just berating the left for a minute, I guess, or at least it came across that way. But I don't know. That's just the hypothetical that I wanted to roll down, I guess, because it's nice to believe and think the best for whatever side you're on, and believe that they have the best interests at heart. But sometimes you have to take a look at what could be on a hypothetical situation when maybe they don't. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Other than that, is anybody else? You guys, we're getting about to that time. You all got anything else for us this week? At all?
Trying to think of any other.
Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't like much of a.
This was a good podcast, though. Yeah. A lot of good stuff to talk about.
Things have had. I mean, the Olympics are they on? Are they starting the next couple of days? I think.
Yeah, I think they start this week.
Pretty sure they do start this week.
I don't have to believe anything historically. The country is better off with Democrats. That is all. I'm only laughing at Ben's face. I'm not laughing. They have cardboard beds set up for Olympians. Ben, what you got to say there, Ben?
It's just not true. That's just not true at all. If you, oh my gosh.
What's on your mind there?
Historically, if you could go back not all that far to the Civil War era and just afterwards, it was not the Republicans that started the Jim Crow laws. It was not the Republicans that were the major players and major proponents of the Ku Klux Klan. Those were the Democrats. And specifically the Southern Democrats, right? The South, for the longest time, was, during that time period and that era, was heavily Democratic and heavily racist. And they perpetrated and did a lot of heinous shit back in those days that was just not good. So historically, the country was not better off with the Democrats. If you want to look at just that one statement by itself. Okay, I mean along the more modern. Okay, so now we're qualifying it as into recent history. recent history, I don't know. It goes 50-50. There have been good things that the Democrats. There's been things that Democratic presidents have done that I have agreed with and I liked, and there's been things that Republican presidents have done that I've liked, and there's been things that both sides have done that I haven't liked. That I've been like, what? But the fuck. So. Yeah, I guess I don't know. In recent history, for me, it's kind of a toss up.
I think you're right, though. If you look at American history as a whole, the grand old party, the GOP, Republicans, generally have been on the right side of history, primarily speaking about racism and slavery. Just keep in mind, Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. That's
one of the
fact.
first.
Yes. So again, you can argue like, and a lot of the big stain on the Republican Party over the last, say, 24 years, if we're just talking in terms of presidential terms, like if we just go back like the last 7 or 8 terms, Trump is a stain on that. And don't forget, a lot of Republicans, when Trump first started running for office, were never Trumpers. And yeah, they're just as guilty for flipping along the way, being like, oh shit, this guy's actually going to win. And now we actually have to kowtow to him because we want to make sure we're on the right side of the party. That happened. And a lot of people who hated him eventually ended up, singing his praises. Like, pretty sure Lindsey Graham was one of them.
It's just that was
Trumper,
just for fucking career safety at that point.
Yeah. So again, like, let me say it one more time, this podcast, not one is better than the other. They both have their flaws for sure. But America as a whole, I think there's a legitimate argument that the Republican, the grand old party, has more holistically been on the right side of history. Again, I'm taking all personal emotion, how I vote, who I want to win out of this. And you could argue that there's a bigger stain on the Republican side over the last, 6 presidents.
Yeah. So the thing
Obama was a cool guy, right? Obama was a cool guy. I'd love to sit down and have a beer with Obama. But don't forget that Obama had the most deported people under his presidency, most amount of people deported in any other president's history, more drone strikes that killed more civilian casualties in the Middle East than any other presidency. So again, I think Obama, if we're just judging humans based on their moral levels, like, yeah, I'll take Obama over Trump any day. But if we're talking about policy and just strictly pencil and paper, we're looking at numbers and policy, and we're taking all moral side out of it versus Trump versus Obama presidency, I don't think necessarily one is any better than the other.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take a side in that because I think the argument could be made either way.
But yeah, I'll give you this, Jesus, that like Alex was saying, the Republican Party, at least the loud part of them, has turned it into like a Trumpist like cult rather than more of a actual like political party. I'll give you that. The loudest ones. I don't know if it's a majority of them or what, but the people that are making the most noise have put a stain in that regard on the Republican Party. And I'll give you this. I'll give you that as well. Obama knew how to talk to people.
Yes.
He was tactful in the way that he talked to people and discussed things rather than just being this kind of like crass asshole, essentially. But yeah. Anyways, if you guys don't have anything else for us for this week, I think we're gonna call it there, and we will see you guys next week. We'll see what happens this week in the world of news I kind of hope I need to do some more looking. I kind of want to see how this stuff down in Haiti's panning out. Because that shit's super interesting and very sketchy. There's a lot in the background of that's weird.
What happened with Drake Bell?
Okay, so Drake Bell was
About Bill Cosby getting released, or did we?
Yeah, we mentioned it. Yeah, we did. We did talk about it. Drake Bell was basically soliciting minors.
Drake.
And I didn't see what sentence he got, Poison, actually, because I was just like, what the fuck? So I guess he got a pretty light sentence.
He got 2 years probation. Apparently Josh Peck reached out. Josh from Drake and Josh.
Yeah,
Suspended 1 year prison sentence. Pled guilty to criminal charges involving a minor. Pled guilty to attempted child endangerment, a 4th-degree felony, and a 1st-degree misdemeanor charge of disseminating matter harmful to juveniles. That sounds like he videotaped something that he shouldn't have videotaped.
Yeah.
She called him a monster. The victim, who's now age 19.
But at the time was not.
Yeah, no, at the time was not. I don't. Let's see.
It's a young lady he knew for years. Oh, see, that's always how it goes. It's somebody you think that you know and that you're comfortable with, and then they freaking turn out to be a monster, and now you're like, what? Now the victim's like, what the fuck is this?
Well, apparently
sucks, man.
He was supposed to be in court for his June 3rd arraignment. Which before media found out about the case, he appeared in court today over Zoom instead of appearing in person. This doesn't surprise me and shows what kind of coward he is, but I'm not a coward. She was 15 when the incident occurred backstage. He told me I was beautiful and boys were stupid.
Mm-hmm.
She also said that when she turned 15, Bell told her to hurry up, where I guess he was telling her to hurry up and grow up so they could do something. He was calculated. He preyed on me and sexually abused me, she said, alleging that he sent her photos of his genitalia.
There it is.
Her parents had to pay for $7,000 more in therapy. He's a monster, endanger to children. He's a pedophile, and that is his legacy. Yeah.
And gross.
Said he was wrong. Sorry that the victim was harmed anyway, but that obviously was not my intention. I've taken this matter very, very seriously. I just want to apologize to her and anyone else.
Oh, it's not. Of course, it wasn't your fucking intention to harm her, but bro, she was 15 and you're sending her a dick pic. What the fuck is she supposed to do with that? When you're, how old was he at the time? Probably 20 something.
Let's see. He is 35 now, and she's 19.
So he was 30.
So when she was 15, he was 35 years. He was 30.
Ew, yeah. Dude, you're a 30-year-old man you're hitting on someone half your age, bro.
Yeah, that's
half your age, dude, and you're just like, yeah, let me go ahead and send a dick pic. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's, I don't think anytime a young man violates not a young man, a man violates a younger woman. Back in the Wayfair days, we've had our fair conversations about our opinions on those kind of people.
Jesus Christ, bro. I mean,
but when you're 30, dude, you know exactly what you're fucking doing.
Yeah, like you can't just come out and say, oh, I didn't mean to harm her in any way. That was my intention. Bro, you mentally scarred a 15-year-old child.
Like, again, 18 and 15 is still very wrong, and you should not cross that line. And not that it's understandable, but it's at least, it's not as horrific or not as like blatant and gross, because we all did stupid shit when we were 18. Again, not that you should do that if you're an 18-year-old, leave 15-year-old alone. Not okay. But especially if you're 30, like, no room. Yeah, it's no excuses.
No, not at all.
You're a bad person.
Disgusting, and you're a terrible person, and yeah, ew. And now I'm pissed that he got 2 years probation because somehow he fucking weaseled his way out of a sentence that should have been a lot worse. Yuck. So fuck you, Drake Bell, for being a fucking human piece of garbage. And yeah.
Well, and Poison does bring up a good point. A lot of child stars turn out to be really wrecked individuals. Honey Boy is a really good movie on Amazon Prime that Shia LaBeouf wrote about him growing up with his dad and how he made all the money, but they were still on like a trailer court. Don't want to ruin it. Really good movie, but it does show like how a lot of young child stars end up to be kind of fucked up in the head, which is unfortunate. Not okay. Not justifying anything here, but.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing we were supposed to talk about, and we got fucking sidetracked. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say about that real quick, so plus I don't know about plus side. Billionaires are getting to go to space. What do they know that we don't know? All right, they know something. They know something. Some shit's fucking about to go down, and they're trying to get off the planet. I'll fucking fully believe that. It's a joke. I don't know, man. Maybe they're just flexing their money. Maybe they know something. I don't know.
Brittany's court.
She actually
ship.
She just got
over.
Yeah, she got told that she can have her own lawyer represent her. She can pick her lawyer.
Now she's suing her dad. I'm pretty sure.
Good, thank Christ.
Yeah, they fucked Brittany pretty hard. Like that girl had kind of like a mental breakdown, which I've been there. I think we've all been there to where like, you kind of have some moments where, especially talk about another child superstar, right? Like not easy.
Not easy.
History's proven that. And she had this one, maybe two kind of shaky moments. And then her dad was like, well, you're mentally unfit, so I will make all of the decisions for you now and control all your money.
Yeah. And
force her to work those shows in Vegas. And she never really wanted to, but she had to because her dad was making her.
Yeah.
They're paying her lawyer $10,000 a week. Her dad was paying the lawyer $10,000 a week to represent her, but she really wasn't representing her. The dad was just hiring the lawyer to basically
keep the conservatorship.
Do what he said. Yeah, it was fucking. There's going to be a documentary written about that.
Oh, 100%. But wild. I'm glad that she is now able to be her own person and have her own lawyer of her choosing.
Pretty somewhat free.
So get there. So she's on the road to being fully free, and I hope that she makes her dad pay handsomely.
Oh, and I fucking hate Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly, by the way. I hate that relationship.
Why?
I hate it so much. We can go into it later.
Okay, we'll talk about it later. That's wild. We're getting into pop culture now.
Remind me. Okay. I think it's so fucking stupid. They just ayahuasca trip together in wherever the fuck they were. And I'm like, y'all can you just leave us alone? I don't want to hear about you guys anymore.
All right. Anyways, we'll see you guys next week. And until then, be safe. Be good to each other. Have a good week. And be kind to each other. Be good to people. Exactly. And with that, we will see you guys next week. As of now, on Sunday, with no issues. All right. Bye, y'all.